Hello friends, welcome to BNB. In this video, you're going to learn about HSRP, Hard Standby Router Protocol, which is a first hop redundancy protocol and it is a Cisco proprietary. So if you take this network, so you can see the end system 10.10.10.1 can reach the multi-server on the right top corner via the OSPF network, which is in the middle. So all these four routers are configured with OSPF protocol, and the router 4 which is connected to the end system is acting as a gateway. So let's say if the router 4 goes down or crashes, how the end system will reach the multi-server. So that is what we are going to see, how we are going to provide a redundancy for this gateway using HSRP. So if you take this network, so I have just modified the previous network topology into this type. So you can see I have just replaced router 4 with a switch and then connected to the router 1 and then router 2. So now you can see all the end systems can reach the multi-server via two paths, either via router 1 across 30 network to reach 50, or else via the router 2 on the right side via 40 network it can reach the multi-server to avail the services. So how we are going to do it is like using a HSRP we can do this. So how, in the sense, we are going to group this network. The concept behind the HSRP protocol or any router redundant protocol is that we are going to group these multiple routers together as a single virtual gateway router. So you're going to group it and then assign a virtual IP address 10 dot, as in the case of this network, 10.10.10.3 as a virtual IP address. Of course, the physical interface connecting the switch towards your LAN network is assigned with some physical IP address 10.10.10.1 on left and 10.10.10.2 on right side, connecting the routers. But these two routers are part of the virtual group whose IP address is 10.10.10.3, which is going to act as a real or a virtual gateway IP address. So if any of this end system below want to reach the multi-server, it will use this 10.10.10.3 virtual IP address as its gateway. So as long as the HSRP is enabled and we have configured this virtual IP address, this is how the end system will reach the multi-server through this virtual IP address acting as a gateway. And now in this HSRP group, all the router will communicate each other through hello messages and will identify, will do an election process and will identify an active router and a standby router. So the active router will actually forward the traffic acting as a gateway, physical gateway, though they are part of a virtual IP address and the virtual gateway. So if the active router fails physically, then the secondary router, which is the standby router, take over its role and act as an active router and forward the traffic continuously. So thereby you will be able to achieve the high availability and a failover. So what if the active router comes back again? So if you configure the preemption, the active router will be able to retain its role again. So let's see the HSRP in detail. So you can see as I told, HSRP is a Cisco proprietary protocol which can be called as FHRP. And as I told, multiple routers combined together as a group and assigned a virtual IP address to act as a virtual gateway. And there is no single point of failure by achieving this kind of process through HSRP. And you can achieve a high availability and failover by using HSRP in your network. So the key features of HSRP are active and standby router. As I told in the group, there are two routers identified through election process, active and standby, and you know the roles. Active will forward the traffic while standby is ready to take over. An election process, as I said, hello messages are used to communicate among the devices to identify active and standby. The default priority is 100, but all the routers will configure the priority. The highest priority router will become an active actually. And the virtual IP address assigned to the gateway, which is nothing but the whole group will be assigned with the virtual gateway IP address, and the redundancy is achieved by this way of communication. And as I told, preemption is nothing but the router which crashes comes back again in the network and takes over its role, retain its role again when preemption is configured. So that is what preemption is used in HSRP. You have to configure on all the routers. And this HSRP is a UDP based protocol and uses 1985 port number, and this protocol message, hello message, is being populated within the HSRP group, and the destination IP address of this hello messages will be 224.0.0.2. So this is the destination IP in all the messages, hello messages will be seen if you sniff it. So thereby it will be able to communicate within that group, HSRP group, and will be able to identify the active router and the standby router. As I told, the active router will be identified by looking at the highest priority. So highest priority router will become active and the lowest priority will become a standby. So now if you take this HSRP states, so you have 5 states in HSRP group. One is initial state, listen state, speak state, standby state, and active state. Initial state is nothing but the interface associated with the gateway is down and it has been just enabled. That is the initial state. Listen state is the router will be able to listen for the HSRP allow messages, and the speak state is the state in which these routers in the group will start sending the hello messages with the priority number and other details. So then the standby router, it is a backup router, so which is ready to take over if the active router fails. This happens after the election process begins. After the election process gets over, one router will be identified as active, another router will be identified as a standby. So one of the state is standby router, which is part of the HSRP states, as I mentioned here. And as I told, active state is the forwarding router, which will forward the traffic acting as a real gateway inside your virtual gateway using the virtual IP address. So, and again, HSRP uses timers. As I said, election process, definitely there should be a timers to maintain the stability of the network and the election process. So that these timers will also manage failover and keep the routers inside the group synchronized. You have two allow timers. One is hello timer. You have two HSRP default timers. One is hello timers, another one is hold timer. Hello timer is 3 seconds, hold timer is 10 seconds. These are default values, but it can be configured as per your requirement, as per your network requirement. And also by configuring these timers, we will be able to manage the failovers, as I said. So this is the sample configuration on the two routers, router 1 and router 2 in our topology, which I shown in the starting of the video. So you can see the standby 1 or three commands is important here. Standby 1 IP and the virtual IP should be assigned. Standby 1 priority and the highest priority, which router you want to act as a active router, give that router as a highest priority. The maximum is 255. 0 to 255 is the range of priority that we can use. So here I have given 200, and the other router down below, if you see, it is 150, which will act as a standby. And as I told, the preempt should be configured on all the routers participating in the election process, so that when there is any when there is a active router comes back in the network after a crash, it will be able to retain its role again as an active router. And also there can be a authentication which can be achieved here. So you can see the standby 1 authentication MD5 key string Cisco, which can be used to achieve authentication as well. So I hope this video helps you to learn about HSRP, and as part of this topic we are going to cover VRRP in the upcoming videos, so stay tuned. Thank you so much.